What is good, everyone? Welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be taking an exact opposite video from last week's episode. Last week I talked about ways that Japan has improved in the 20 years since I first arrived in 2002. Today I'm going to do a more curmudgeonly look at Japan and say or complain about some things that have not improved in the past 20 years. So let's see what they are. Roll intro. Okay, before we get started, I just want to say there is a way we can improve this channel, and that is by subscribing. If you would be so kind as to subscribe, we are almost to 1,000. Greatly appreciate if you join the family, and hit the like button so that my content gets out to a large YouTube audience. That is if you like the video, of course. Okay, with that out of the way, the first thing that has not improved in 20 years in Japan is the banking and financial system. Now, this is pretty much a foregone conclusion because Tokyo wanted to be the financial hub of Asia for decades, and it just never happened because essentially the financial and bank institutions failed to internationalize and reform so that they could, work with the international community. And basically, Japan was surpassed by places like Singapore and Hong Kong. I think every single YouTuber who's a foreigner in Japan has a video or segment where they talk about a crazy Japan bank experience. So I'm going to share mine. So if you go to a bank in Japan to get business done, you better be prepared to take like half day off or even a full day off of work because, well, the hours aren't very convenient and it takes time. So here's my story. I had to get paperwork from the local city hall before I went to the bank, so I took the morning off to take care of that. And then in the afternoon I went to the bank, making sure I arrived well before 3 p.m., which is when banks close. And I arrived at the bank and I went into the entrance, and there is a touch screen there that has the options for what kind of, what are you there for that day? And there's a lady standing there who asks me, what am I there for that day? And I tell her, oh, it's that one on the screen right there. And she kindly pushes that button on the screen, hands me the paper that's printed out at the bottom, and says, go have a seat and wait. And I'm not really sure why I couldn't do all of that myself, but if you live in Japan, you know that's just how it is here. So I go and sit, and I wait, and eventually my number is called. I go up, I hand in my documents, I fill in a couple other forms, sign things, and then they give me a new number. I go back and sit down, and I wait for the new number to be called, which is about 10-15 minutes. And then I go back and they say, okay, you're going to receive some receipts in the mail and a phone call from us to make sure that you got them. A couple days later, I get a phone call, no receipts in the mail, and the phone call says, yari naoshi, which basically means you got to do it again, or you got to come in and fix everything that you screwed up. Oh, no. I have to go back to the bank, which means, again, taking time off of work. Go back, and this is what was wrong. I had written my name wrong on the documents. You see, I hadn't made a proper horseshoe-shaped U. I had instead made a U with a little tail on it, which is a remnant of my grade school days when I was learning how to write printed letters that would become cursive, right? You make a U with the tail because it's going to go into the L in my first name, Paul. So yeah, I wrote my name wrong. So I had to do all of these documents over again so that it would be the proper, acceptable U. And Japan wonders why they didn't become the financial hub of Asia. Attention to unimportant details and inflexibility, I think, are two of the major culprits there. Okay, so there's my story about banking. The next thing that Japan has failed to improve in 20 years is English service. Companies in Japan that claim to provide English language service either on the phone or if you go into their company branch location. That's not actually true. Now, this kind of goes against what I said last week in the improvements to Japan in 20 years. I talked about how English ability, especially amongst the young people, has greatly improved, but English service at the same time has not. I think what's going on there is that they're putting a international kind of good face forward that, oh, we have international English service. But I swear every time I call like the credit card company that claims to have it or the airline, they're saying, oh, the person who speaks English is not available or is not here today or I don't actually speak English. So I don't know what's going on there. Actually, no, I think I do know what's going on there. I go to the same car dealership every year to have my car tuned up, like basically have the yearly maintenance check, safety check, that kind of thing. And there's a guy there who always helps me out. And the first time I met him, he said that he was just the guy on staff that everyone designated as the person who's supposed to deal with the foreigners. So when a foreigner comes in, it falls on him to go out and help him. I think he likes seeing me because when I come in, we basically do everything in Japanese. But that first time I met him, I asked him, oh, well then your English must be pretty good, right? He's like, no, I don't speak English. So I think that might be what's happening. Like they've designated someone as the person who helps the foreign customers, but that's whether they actually speak English or not. I don't know if that's really what's happening, but that's my theory. So let me know what you think. Okay, the third thing that has not improved in the past 20 years in Japan is plastic packaging. Japan is still number 2 per capita in terms of plastic waste behind America. So I moved from number 1 to number 2. Yay. But Japan has definitely not improved in that regard. It's still, everything is overpackaged in plastic. Snacks are all individually wrapped. So when I watch a movie, when the movie's done, I look down in despair at all of this plastic packaging, just reminding me of how many calories I've consumed. Kind of a pile of shame. And vegetables, I mean, everything is individually wrapped. Your broccoli, your lettuce, everything. I actually figured out that most of the vegetables that aren't wrapped in the stores are the ones that have been imported, like bell peppers from Korea or avocados from Mexico are not individually wrapped, but pretty much everything off of a Japanese farm is. So I know, because I've seen on other YouTube channels when foreigners have talked about the plastic issue, people come into the comments and they're like, well, Japan is really good at recycling, so you don't know what you're talking about. That's not exactly true. It's true that Japan does a lot of garbage sorting and is pretty good about recycling. Plastic is not one of those things. Japan is one of those countries that's also guilty of, in the past, exporting its plastic waste to China. China recently said, we're not taking plastic waste anymore, so you got to deal with it. And the way Yokohama has dealt with it, at least, is to burn it. Burning, last time I checked, is not recycling. Now, it's true that we still sort our plastic and burnable trash, and the reason for that is the plastic trash is incinerated at a burn plant that is like outfitted with extra filters, so like carcinogens and other pollutants don't go out into the atmosphere. But that doesn't really help with the whole trying to reduce use of oil and reduce like carbon emissions, because it's still burning the plastic. And I'm pretty sure a lot of municipalities, not just Yokohama, have had to rely on burning because it's really hard to recycle a lot of those plastics. So this whole image of Japan recycles everything, not exactly true. Okay, the fourth thing that has not improved in Japan in the past 20 years, and in fact, I would say has not even changed in the past 20 years, is Japanese TV. Japanese TV is still just B-list celebrities eating things and playing silly games. Or it's A-list idols, singers and dancers, who have been thrust into acting roles and are acting in cookie-cutter, predictable dramas. Now, don't get me wrong, I do watch Japanese TV. Some of the variety shows can be entertaining, And some of the dramas can be decent, and you know, if the idol actress is really cute, I might watch it. But basically, it hasn't changed in 20 years. And what this actually means, I believe, is that Japanese TV is going to die. And the reason being, it hasn't updated for younger audiences. And as such, when I talk to my Japanese university students, they don't watch TV. Almost none of them. And if they're living alone in their apartment, you know, they've got their own place, they don't even have a TV. They're watching everything on their device, their tablet or their phone, YouTube, Netflix, Amazon Prime, that sort of thing. They're not watching TV. The Facebook generation and older are watching TV. The TikTok and Instagram generation are not. So yeah, what I think that means is that Japanese TV, as it's known now, is basically going to disappear at some point, unless it really reforms itself and, you know, comes out with new and compelling content. But I'm not going to hold my breath on that. So, Japanese TV, no change. I don't think anyone's going to really miss it, except maybe those B-list celebrities who are going to lose their free meal and, you know, their FaceTime on TV. But there it is. Those are the 4 things I'm going to talk about this week. As with last week, I could talk about more items because there are other ways that Japan has improved in 20 years and other ways that Japan has not improved in 20 years. But I did 4 last week, so 4 this week. You know, nice sense of balance. I will probably do a video again in the future of both of these topics with new items. So please look for that. But otherwise, I want to thank you very much for watching this particular video. If you've made it this far without hitting the like button or subscribing, now is the perfect time to do so. If you made it this far, I think it deserves a like and a subscribe. So thanks again, and I will catch you on the next one.